From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight: 4 people indicted with former ex-president Donald Trump in connection with efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election in Georgia have reported to Atlanta's Fulton County Jail. David Schaefer, former chairman of the Georgia Republican Party, Kathy Latham, former chairman of the Coffee County Republican Party, and attorneys Ray Smith and Ken Chesborough turned themselves in. They're accused of participating in a plan to use false slates of Republican electors to keep Trump in office. The other 15 co-defendants in the case have also been indicted. But they have not all surrendered into jail custody. Former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and former Justice Department official Jeffrey Clark have filed motions to delay their surrender. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is leading the prosecution against Trump and other defendants. She alleges they broke the law by attempting to overturn President Joe Biden's victory in Georgia. Trump is facing charges of violating anti-racketeering laws, soliciting a public officer to violate their oath, conspiring to impersonate a public officer, and conspiring to file false documents. He has denied any wrongdoing and has called the indictment politically motivated. Gun violence has become the leading cause of deaths amongst children in the United States. According to a study published in the journal Pediatrics, the number of children killed by gun violence rose to a record high of over 4,000 in 2021. Gun deaths among children have increased by nearly 42% between 2018 and 2021. Dr. Chetan Satya is a pediatric trauma surgeon in New York and the study's lead author. He says gun-related mortality amongst children is a chief national public health crisis. Black children accounted for more than 67% of firearm homicides, while white children accounted for over 78% of firearm suicides. The study found increased firearm mortality rates are correlated with higher poverty levels and lower socioeconomic status. These were substantial spikes in firearm purchases during the coronavirus pandemic, resulting in roughly 30 million children living in households with firearms. Researchers expected to see a decrease in gun-related deaths amongst children in 2022, but the opposite happened, with pediatric gun deaths rising by nearly 9%. The authors call for action to reduce gun violence, including universal background checks, safe storage laws, and investments in mental health services. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is calling for an end to security assistance to Saudi Arabia. This is following reports of Saudi border guards killing hundreds of Ethiopian migrants. New York-based Human Rights Watch claims Saudi border guards killed, tortured, and raped Ethiopian migrants, including women and children. According to the group's report, the killing took place between March 2022 and June 2023 at the Saudi-Yemen border. Witnesses reported Saudi forces using small arms and light artillery to kill migrants. Some survivors reported dozens of migrants were massacred, while others said that they were tortured or witnessed torture or were forced to rape other migrants. Omar said Saudi Arabia must be held accountable for its human rights abuses. She's calling on the U.S. government to stop arms shipment and sales to Saudi Arabia. Her latest call to action comes as the Biden administration faces increasing pressure to reassess its relationship with Saudi Arabia. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb and his team have recovered material from the ocean floor that they believe may have come from an extraterrestrial spacecraft. The material was found in the Pacific Ocean near where a meteor fell in 2014. It consists of spherical marbles, each about a millimeter in size. The team now is analyzing the material to determine its composition and origin. If the material turns out to be of interstellar origin, it would be the first time physical evidence of extraterrestrial technology has been found. Loeb believes the material could have come from another exploding star or a supernova. He says the findings could have a profound impact on humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. India made history Wednesday with the successful landing of the Chandrayaan-3 lander on the moon's south pole. This makes it the fourth country after the former Soviet Union, the United States, and China to succeed in a soft moon landing. The Chandrayaan-3 mission is India's third lunar mission. However, it's the first to explore the lunar South Pole, a region considered rich in water. The mission paves the way for a permanent human presence on the lunar surface. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the landing as a historic achievement and said it changes the history of lunar exploration. The lunar landing comes ahead of India's national elections to be held early next year. Opposition parties have warned Modi against using the mission for political purposes. The Chandrayaan-3 lander is expected to remain operational for 2 weeks, during which time it will conduct a series of experiments. It's a joint project of the India Space Research Organization and the Russian Space Agency. New study shows intermittent fasting helps cure memory loss. Details after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. A new study has found intermittent fasting can help fight dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Intermittent fasting is a dietary pattern that alternates between periods of eating and fasting. The study conducted on mice by the University of California found the mice that fed on a time schedule with a 12-hour eating window had better memory. They were found to have lower brain amyloid protein levels than those who ate without interruption. Researchers believe intermittent fasting may help improve circadian rhythms, which are disrupted in people with Alzheimer's disease. The circadian rhythm is the body's internal clock that regulates sleep, wake cycles, metabolism, and other bodily functions. The result of the study suggests intermittent fasting may be a potential treatment for Alzheimer's disease. More research is needed to confirm these findings in humans. A Palestinian teenager was killed by Israeli soldiers Tuesday during a raid southeast of Jenin in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinian Health Ministry says that the 17-year-old boy was shot in the head by an Israeli soldier during an early morning raid. Wafa news agency reports that Israeli army stormed Al-Zababdeh town to carry out arrests, resulting in clashes with Palestinians. Meanwhile, the Israeli army has detained 50 Palestinians in the province of Hebron, Ramallah, Qalqiyya, Jenin, Nablus, and Tulkaram. Israeli forces frequently conduct raids on Palestinian homes in occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem, detaining people on various charges. Iraqi workers in the city of Sulaymaniyah work from dawn to dusk in the scorching summer heat to earn a living by cutting stones. Cutting and trimming stones into intricate works requires skill and patience. 59-year-old Lutfullah Ismail has been doing this job for 41 years. He says white stones are in high demand because of their beauty and rarity. Ayub Muradani, a 35-year-old stonemason, has been in the profession for 15 years. He says they work all year round, regardless of the season, because the stones they work on are used to build walls. Muradani says the work is demanding, but very few people can do it. A worker can carve up to 20 to 25 stones in a day, but more intricate work makes for 7 to 12 stones a day. They can work in open-air workshops where it can be very hot in the summer. The stones come from local quarries and are used in the construction of various buildings, including houses, mosques, and government buildings. People in Hajjah in war-torn Yemen are facing dire conditions due to the ongoing conflict. Displaced families live in makeshift shacks in the desert and struggle with poverty and harsh living conditions. About 150 families now live in these makeshift desert barracks. The psychological impact of the conflict is especially hard on children, many of whom have fled their homes and interrupted their education. The UN estimates 4.5 million people have been displaced in Hajjah, and 80% of those displaced are children and women. The conflict in Yemen has created a humanitarian crisis, displacing millions of people. The Syrian National Army says that it has reaffirmed its commitment to the international law on the ban on child soldiers. Hassan al-Hamada, defense minister of the Syrian interim government, says the army has conducted over 80 courses on international humanitarian law since August 2021. He adds that it's on its way to becoming an army trained in international humanitarian law. The Syrian interim government issued a decree in May 2020 banning the recruitment of children for the army. Various media watchdogs have condemned Indian authorities' move to restrict access to a popular Kashmiri news website and its social media account. Fahad Shah, founding editor of the Kashmir Walla website, has been in jail since February 2022 on charges of sedition. The International Federation of Journalists called India blocking the website a clear attack on press freedom. The group called on the Indian government to immediately revoke the orders. The Committee to Protect Journalists says that the move marked a new low for the press freedom in the region. CPJ called on the Indian government to put an end to the persecution, harassment, and arrest of journalists in Kashmir. The Digipub News India Foundation called the move a pattern of the arbitrary abuse of the law. The Kashmir Walla says it was not aware why it had been blocked in India and that it had not received any notification. The media outlet says it has received an eviction notice the same day from the landlord of its office in Srinagar, the capital of Indian-held Jammu and Kashmir. Former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mahbub al-Mufti said on X, formerly known as Twitter, Kashmir Walla was amongst the few portals that dared to speak truth to power. The famous Dodia Mosque and the Songyu Mosque in the Chinese capital of Beijing have been transformed with Chinese architecture. Experts say that these mosques underwent Sinicization on the instructions of the Chinese government. This has resulted in the removal of their distinctive Islamic features. Sinicization is the process by which non-Chinese societies or groups are assimilated into Chinese culture. The process is used to limit language, social norms, culture, and ethnic identity. But now it has extended to the architecture of places of worship. The original Islamic-style arcades were replaced with square ones, and the moonlit towers and domes were demolished and replaced with Chinese-style elements. Propaganda for socialist values and Chinese Communist Party ideology was displayed prominently in the mosque. Some pro-Communist Party individuals and organizations view the Sinicization of mosques as a positive move. More than 20 human rights groups jointly appealed to the UAE to release individuals ahead of COP28. The COP28 is the 28th UN Climate Change Conference. It will be held November 30th to December 12th in Dubai. Although they already have served their sentences, 58 people, including figures such as Ahmed Mansour and Dr. Nasser bin Ghait, remain in detention in UAE. Signatures to the open letter included Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and Frontline Defenders. The rights groups also called on the UAE to stop monitoring government critics and the use of repressive laws to detain dissidents and end denial of peaceful assembly. UAE authorities justify indefinite detention beyond people's sentences by using a broad definition of terrorism, citing concerns for state security and need for rehabilitation. Most of those still in detention are part of a group of 94 lawyers, academics, and activists. They were convicted in a controversial 2013 trial on charges of plotting to overthrow the government. That's all from our Washington, D.C. studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.